Hey guys, Luke here, and in this video we're going to go through the basic principles of a self-rescue, because we've heard a couple of sort of interesting stories of kind of scary, where people don't really understand, or they haven't been taught the most important part of a self-rescue and why you would do that. And so this video is just going to be sort of a bit of a brief rundown. It's not going to be a comprehensive self-rescue video, but mainly just talking about the main points, so that if you find yourself out there, you've got that in your head, and you really should practice this, but you've got it in your head that you can safely sort of get back to your kite and hopefully sail it back to shore. And so we're standing on the beach, and I'm attached to my bar and lines, and we've got the kite sitting down there on the sand. Now this is sort of intended to simulate that we're in the water, and I know we'll probably get some comments saying, well, it's a lot harder in the water, and the fact is that it is heaps harder in the water. And if you can't perform this on the beach, then you're really going to struggle in the water. And so you really should practice this and get a feel for what needs to happen in order to self-rescue before you're in the water, before you find yourself in a very difficult situation, water in your face, the bar's in your way, the kite's still pulling you, your board's over there. It's far more challenging in the water. And so you should come down on a no-wind day. There's no wind, pump up your kite, bring your bar and lines upwind, and then sort of practice this and see how you can do it. So let's get into it. One of the scariest things about the stories that I've heard about self-rescuing is that the wind's dropped out and the kite's hit the water, and you're sort of bobbing around, and then without knowing how to self-rescue, you decide, okay, well, I need to get back to the kite. So you grab your bar, and to get back to the kite, you start wrapping up your bar and lines like this. And basically, you get about halfway to your kite, the wind picks up a little bit, the kite rolls over and it launches. Now, what do you think would be the major problem with that? Then what we have is a set of bar and lines, all rolled up, all connected to this one point, with absolutely zero control over the kite. The kite's going to launch, it's going to start to fly, and you can't control it. Steering it doesn't do anything. All the lines are all wrapped up, holding tension in different ways. Now, on top of that, if you were then to fire your safety release, it's not going to work either, because the safety release line, is also wrapped up around here. And on top of that, when we look at how we actually roll up a bar and lines, what you do is you get one and the center, and then you go around, and then you grab this one. So what we've actually also done is just make this steering line one lap, or this distance, shorter than this steering line. So when it launches, not only are you going to have no control, not only can you no longer use your safety system, but the kite's very likely to start looping. And that's really, really dangerous situation. And so this video is just to cover the main point about a self-rescue, and that is that you have to shorten one of these lines significantly so the kite can no longer fly. That's how you have to move your way to the kite. You have to shorten that line first. And so the first step, if this hasn't already happened, if you're still connected to here, is to release the safety system from your harness. Now, if it's really light, you might find that it doesn't sort of automatically release, and you have to sort of pull that out, right? And now what's happening is we're pulling that line, and in the water, that'll drift away, and our safety line will be pulled all the way out until it hits its stopper ball. That stopper, where this safety line stops hard, that is designed or engineered to ensure that that kite flags and it can't fly anymore. So now we know we have the right length on this one line. So if we move back a little bit, so that wasn't confusing, all we've really done is fire the safety system. The kite could have still been flying at that time, right? The kite could have been in the air, you fired the safety system, and now you're connected to your leash like this. We need to get back to our bar. So the first step is to go sort of hand over hand, right? We never want to wrap our hands or any part of our body in the line. And remember, we're in the water, and so the line's going to be sort of drifting around. You got to watch where your legs are going, where it's sort of like wrapping. Okay, so really try and keep it sort of away from us, going hand over hand until we get back to the bar. once we're back at the bar, okay, we can pull the bar back down to the bottom of the loop here. And what we do is we actually take this line, this safety line, and start wrapping it around, including one of those floats, the end of the bar. Now I like to just wrap it a couple of times, maybe 4 times or so that it's taken any tension, okay? Because this is what was holding the kite, so you would have felt that was sort of pressuring you a little bit. This will take a little bit of the tension. You can sort of hold that there now. And then what we do is, it's called a half hitch, where basically what you're doing is creating a loop by twisting it like that. Okay, so one line over the other, you can see. So all we're doing, and you don't want to sort of get your fingers all caught up in there again. So you're holding it at the top, you make this big loop. And then you put the loop over the bar and pull it tight. And then you do exactly the same thing again. Another loop, and you pull it tight as well. Now what that's done is create a little knot here, meaning that this line can no longer be threaded back through there, meaning that the line can't go all the way through all 4 lines, then load up, the kite flies. Okay, so right now that line is locked off, meaning that the kite's no longer going to fly. So at this point we're going to wrap the rest of this up just around the end of the bar. Okay, so this is just that safety line. Eventually we're going to get close to ourselves. You can see it's sort of here now, and we just leave ourselves a little bit of length so it doesn't get uncomfortable. And what you can do is, because there's no tension on it, is another half hitch around the end of the bar, tighten it up, and now we know that that's done. Okay, we're still not at the kite though. Okay, and again, this isn't meant to be an in-depth tutorial. This is just like out of necessity. This is the safest, this is the most important part, is to shorten that line and know that it's locked off and nothing's going to load up and power up anymore. But to get to the kite, there's a couple of different options for it. We have to collect the rest of our lines, the rest of these, right? And we've got to make sure that we get all 4. So we've got 1 there, 1 there, and we've got 2 here. Okay, so now I know that they're all here, okay? Now, again, this is in the water and it's really hard. One of the hardest things is if a line falls off, you might not even notice that you've only got 3 lines in your hand at the time. And so that's the main thing, you know, you've got to make sure you collect everything. And you can then proceed to do this big figure of 8s around the bar. This, in real time, is actually really hard to do that figure of 8, or it can be. If there's any wind holding onto your kite, there's a lot of pressure here, and what you're doing is you're sort of dragging yourself towards it. And so what you might find is easier, and particularly just for simple, you know, just how to remember it, is just keep going around the end of this bar. All right? The downside with this is it'll probably take longer. The upside is that it's a lot easier to do. So you're sort of wrapping it around and round and round. All right, and you just keep going until you get to the bar, until you get to the kite, sorry. Now it makes a bit of a mess of the bar, but this is the way it is, right? The other thing is that when you're in the water, trying to do the figure 8 can be a bit hard, whereas this, you can sort of hold this end out of the water, and then you can sort of keep a bit of an eye on it. I know some people probably disagree. Some people will say to do the figure of 8, it's faster with the bar, but sometimes you need a lot of muscle power to get that done. All right. Okay, so now when we get close to the kite, there's still going to be a bit of tension on this bar. It's still going to feel like it's pulling a little bit, and we don't want to wrap it up too close to the kite because then we can't sort of maneuver the kite. So you sort of want just a couple of meters there so that we can, you know, we don't want to basically make it too difficult. So about 3 meters or so is sort of the guide. Then we try and get a hand on the kite. Again, look, I like to get a hand on the kite first so that now there's no tension on that line. The idea is that we want to get another half hitch in this, right? So that it basically locks all of those off and we can let go of the bar and it doesn't just, you know, unravel under the water. However, under tension, that can be quite hard. Again, you don't want to keep your fingers in there. So if you can wrap it around again, under tension, great. If not, get a hand on the kite, lay on the thing so it's not going anywhere. Now there's no tension on those lines, right? And finish it off with a half hitch so that that's locked off as well. In theory, you can let go of the bar at this point. In practicality, I like to hang on to the bar anyway. I don't want to drift in around trying to, maybe snag on something on the bottom or something like that. Now the hard part is, or it can be, to get the kite over into the sailing position. The point of this is to get the kite all the way over, like this, lay on the leading edge, get this bridle, fold it down, right, laying on there. Oh yeah. Right, I don't really want to lay on my kite, but basically you're laying on it like this and you're sailing it back to shore. So the idea is to get this happening in the direction of the beach, okay? Now, in order to do that, there's probably some really clever techniques for how to roll over the kite, and if you know one, leave it in the comments for everyone to read, and maybe there's some really good ideas. For me, either it just works because the kite's already upside down, it's really easy, but if the kite's sitting like this, I actually prefer to use the wind power, hang on to it like this, you can see the tip starts to get it, and then I actually find it pretty easy, even in the water, to let the wind fold that over. That's what I find to be easiest. Some people like to sort of get some leverage on this, push this down with their leg into the water and then roll it, because remember, you're in the water, so you can't stand on anything, you've got no leverage to move anything around. But it doesn't matter how you get it done, you just have to get it done. You've got to get that thing rolled over into what we call the smiling position. So over like this, lay on it, and then get that bridle, or maybe your kite has handles, but you'll get the bridle, roll it up like this, so then it starts to sail you back to shore. Now, look, that's a bit of a basic rundown on how to self-rescue. Okay, that should keep you out of trouble. Main takeaway, shorten that line, okay, that center line, fire that safety, make sure it pulls through, and then wrap that up, make sure that center line's really short. A couple of side notes are, if you can reach your board at the time, then put your twin tip on your feet, so then you've still got your board. If it's a surfboard, put it between your legs and sit on it, okay? Might be a little bit of time in the water there, and you probably want to, hopefully you're wearing an impact vest to make that a lot easier, or a flotation device of some description. If you're sitting on your board, that's going to make it a lot easier as well. And the main thing to remember, in my personal opinion, is that, you want to stay connected to a flotation device of some description. So hopefully you've got your board there, or hopefully you've got the kite. You don't really want to break away completely, so that you make sure you've always got that flotation device. So anyway, thanks guys, thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful, and we'll see you in the next video.